Hello and welcome to Board Games and Book Club. This is Rob's Monday solo stream. And as you can probably see, this is one hell of a game I've got set up here today. Um, yeah, Jess decided that I should try playing SETI. A game that we have only played together once and that I have never played solo before, so this is the first time I am doing this game as a solo. And yeah, it's a lot. It took me quite a long time to get it set up. Um, but I'm here. I've got it all set up. I think I'm ready to go. I am going to close the window that's next to me so you can't hear the sounds of a helicopter. So I think I'm just having a bit of a difficulty at the moment. I will be right back. Okay, sorry about that. I think I'm good. I have some things that are telling me that I'm actually live and other things that are telling me that it isn't working. I'm going to push on and hopefully it works. At worst, this doesn't go through on Twitch and I put it up on YouTube later. Okay. So, SETI is a very, very big, heavy game. And there is a lot going on. There's tons of stuff on the board, lots of stuff to try and keep track of. I'm going to do my best to explain it as we go along, and hopefully it will all make sense. I'm just got the board a little twisted here, so I'm just going to change that. So, in SETI, you and whoever you're playing against, in this instance for me, I'm playing against the rival player, which is this board over here. And you are rival space agencies doing your best to send out probes into space and try and find any evidence of alien life. To do that, you have a bunch of different things you can do, which I have on my trusty little booklet here, which tells you everything you need to know about the whole game pretty much. I'll do a quick rundown of the stuff you can do on your turn, and then we'll jump in. The main thing you need to know: to win the game, you get the most points. and you've got this lovely score track that goes around the centre of the board here. And if you do manage to get past this, you have little tokens which have 100 and 200 on either side, just to say that you've managed to reach that marker and you're now over that amount of points. There is a lot of different resources in this game and a lot of different tracks that you have to keep track of. There is your points track here, which is the big circle in the middle of the board. You have your publicity track, which is this one up here, which is tracked by these lovely little microphones. And you use your publicity to get different things as you go through the game. You have your technologies over here. There are 3 different types that let you do slightly different things. So there's ones to do with scanning, ones to do with sending probes out into space, and ones to do with technology specifically. Sorry, the blue ones are technology, they're analysing data. And you'll use those throughout the game. You get to add them into your board here, into these little slots, and when you take the actions, they just allow you to do extra little things. You have obviously your personal board with your personal setup. You've got your own tokens, so you have like your little markers, you have probes, and obviously you have your microphone and your points marker there as well. Then over here you've got your energy represented by the green tokens, money or credits represented by these yellow ones, and data represented by what I think Jess would like to eat that look like little jelly sweets. That's basically all the stuff on the board. Playing it is a lot more complicated. So on your turn, you can do one main action, which is one of the things down the left side of your little booklet here. And you can do as many free actions as you want. You can do them in any order as well, so you don't have to think, oh, I need to do all my free actions first. You can just, as soon as you end your turn, you say that you're done, and then it passes on to the next person. On your turn, I'll go through the things you can do. You can play a card from your hand, and when you do so, you play that card and you resolve the white part of the card, but you have to pay the cost to play that card in the first place. So for instance, if I wanted to play this very large array card, it would cost me 2 credits, and then I would get to do these actions down here. That's the first and most simple thing you can do on your turn. The next thing you can do is launch a probe from Earth. That costs you 2 credits to do, and then you just take one of your probes and pop it on Earth. Signifying that obviously you've just sent that one out into space, it's been created, and now it can go off and analyse data, look at things throughout the cosmos. You can orbit, which is to put your probe, if you've moved it out to a planet, you can then choose to let that orbit that planet, and you would then move the probe off this main section of the board here onto the planet where it's presented over here on the planet section of the board. If it's in orbit, you'll put it on the little green semicircle around the edge, and then there are bonuses that you get for putting a planet in orbit. The next thing you can do is land, which will cost you 3 energy, or if you already have a probe in orbit, it will cost you 2 energy instead. So it becomes a little bit easier to land on planets if you already have a probe orbiting it. The next thing you can do is scan, and it'll cost you 1 credit and 2 energy to do that. And then you scan a particular area of space. I'm pretty sure at first what you scan is just what's in the same segment of the board as Earth. So for instance, at the moment Earth is in this section, so you would only be able to scan Kepler 22. The next thing you do is analyze data, which would be to remove all the data from your computer. So as you go along, you'll collect these data points when you scan. They get to go into your computer, and you plot them along these to get different bonuses and things like that. Once this section is completely full, you spend 1 energy, remove all of them, they go back into the supply, and that means you then get to mark a particular sign of alien life. So there are 3 different alien life markers. I'm not actually sure what they call them. I'll see if I can quickly find it. As far as I know, they're just like different life traces. It might actually be on the back of here. Yeah, see, there's yellow ones, pink ones, and blue ones. So the blue ones are done by analysing data. The pink ones, if you fill up this sector that you've scanned, if you have the most in that sector, you win it, and then you will be able to do look for a pink sign of life. And then the yellow ones you get for landing on planets. I don't think they have a particular thing that it is. I like to think of the blue ones as being, because you're analysing data, it's looking for signals in space. The pink ones, it's when you're scanning. I like to think of that as like you've spotted something physical, and then the ones where you land on planets is like actually finding evidence of it. But who knows what they're actually supposed to be. And then the last thing you can do is to research one of these technologies over here, so then you can add it to your board. You can research when you have 6 publicity, and that allows you to research any of them. Once you get 6 publicity, you spend it all, and then you can just go ahead and get any one of them that you want. It can be the orange ones, the pink ones, or the blue ones. And the last thing you can do is to pass your turn. When there's nothing else you can do, if you're all out of energy, you've got no other free actions that you can do, the last main action is to pass. If you have more than 4 cards in your hand, you discard down to 4. If you're the first person that passes, you take this marker off the top of these cards here and rotate the solar system. This rotates anytime that symbol comes up. You'll move it around this little track here, and every time it moves over one of these, you move that particular section of the solar system. So yellow is just this first little section here. Orange, you will move the orange, which will move the yellow as it does so, and then the blue is where you'll move all 3 at the same time. And then the last thing you do is you'll go through this stack of cards here, choose one of them, and then put the others back. Unless you're the last person to pass, in which case the other one can just get discarded at that point. For your free actions, there's a lot of other things you can do. I'm hoping everybody's getting the vibe that there's a lot going on in this game. The first thing you can do is place data into your computer. So anything that you've scanned, and you've got one of these lovely tasty blue markers here, please don't actually eat them, they are not edible. They get put into your data pool here, and then you can add them into your computer. You don't have to take an action to do that, it's just, you are just free to go ahead and do that at any point, and do as many of them as you want as you go. Like currently, you have 4 empty spaces for the technologies. If you were to get those technologies in place, they would give you extra bonuses. At the moment, these ones are just blank, so they don't give you anything, but you're just filling up the computer at the moment. You can complete a mission. So sometimes the cards that you have will have a mission on them, like these 2 that we have in the display down here. If you have played that card and then meet the condition of it, you get to complete it, and you get the reward for doing so. You can also discard a card from your hand for its free action, which is up in the top corner here. So there can be game publicity, you can move a probe. Yeah, there's a lot of other things you can do with that. I think those are like the main ways that you'll probably be moving probes around will be via that. Unless I've got mistaken and I've forgotten how you move the probes around space, but I will check that. You can buy movement to move your probes around space. It'll cost 1 energy for every movement that you want to do. So you just spend your energy and then move. You can buy a card. So it's signified on the board here. If you spend 3 publicity, you just get to get a card. You can either take one from the display here, or you can draw randomly from the top of the deck. And then the last thing you can do as a free action is to exchange 2 of the same resource for 1 resource of any kind. So you could lose 2 cards, 2 energy, or 2 credits and get 1 of any of those. You keep going until everyone that's playing, every player has passed, and then that will be the end of the round. At the end of the round, everyone gains income, which I'll go through that in a second, but it's on the back of this card here. That's your starting income at the end of every round, and you'll get extras throughout the game as you can add to that. The starting player will move around the table to the left, and then you move this reminder token just onto the next stack of cards, so that the first person that passes will always rotate the solar system when it gets to their turn. And there's a lot more stuff going on in here. So your booklet will describe all the actions you can take. It describes what each tech does. And it also describes these gold scoring tiles over here, which give you end of game points for different things. So these 4 are all double-sided, so there are 8 different possibilities that you can have, and you just randomly assign them at the start of the game. The ones I've got out here, so this one will give you points for every completed mission card. You get to choose these every time you get to the gold points on the tracks down here, and you can only mark each one once. So if you're the first person, you're going to get more points for doing these, but you still get points if you're the second or third person. But yeah, so the first one will give you extra points for every mission card that you complete. The second one here gives you extra points for each set consisting of a sector win and either an orbiter or a lander. So that means if you've won sectors as you go around the board, as well as orbiters or landers on planets, so the example here gives you have 3 sector wins, 1 lander and 1 orbiter. That makes 2 sets, and you'll get extra points for each set that you have at the end of the game. In a similar fashion, this one will give you points for every set of probe, telescope and computer techs. So if you have 1 of each, that counts as 1 set. And then, looks like we're completing sets this game, surprisingly. This one will give you points for each set of credit, energy and card income that you have tucked under the starting card. So not the ones that are on this actual card, but ones that you've tucked to gain extra income as you go through the game. I'll explain how you get that as you go through, but anytime you see this little economy symbol, you'll get to, if you want to, add a card from your hand and tuck it under, which will give you extra income as the game goes on. And it's the mark that's in the bottom corner of the card that will add to your income each round. And usually, I'm pretty sure when you tuck it under, you immediately get that resource as well. And then on the back, it's just a whole lot of iconography that will tell you pretty much everything that you need to know for the game. It will tell you exactly what each thing means and does. it is quite difficult. I am very wary of how much this game can be, and it's not a short game either. Like it can be, depending on how fast you play. But as this is only the second time I've ever played it, and this is the first time obviously I've done it solo, yeah, I'm probably going to be checking the rulebook quite a lot, especially as I have never used this solo AI before. All it relies on is these cards, and I'm playing it at its most basic, so it doesn't have any extra objectives or anything like that. I'm probably still going to lose to it, because I think that's a theme that has begun since last week with Patchwork, where I am not very good at beating AIs sometimes. I'm hoping that I'll do alright, but it's not a large amount of hope that I've got here. So, yeah, there's a lot of things that I have to track for the AI as well, that it gets to do different things throughout the game with the text and with its cards. I'll explain those as I get to them, basically. So it's similar in a way to the way that the Patchwork AI works. So at the top of the turn, you flip one of these. You flip the top card of the deck. I'll use this one just as an example, and you follow the flow down. So you'll attempt to do that first one. If it can't do that first thing, then you move down to this one. If it can't do that, then you move down to the next one. It will always have something that it can do. But obviously I'm going to have to get to that when I get round to it, because I've not played this before, so I'm probably going to be checking the rulebook for exactly how each of these things works when I get to it. But for now, I'm just going to go ahead and start. So the first thing I need to do, I've got the whole game completely set up here. If you're playing, you get, at the start of the game, you get a player card which shows you what you get at the start of the game. So you get 4 publicity, 4 credits, 3 energy, and 5 cards at random. So you just draw them off the top of the deck. And then the last thing you have here is the economy symbol. So that means you need to discard one of your cards at the very beginning to give yourself an extra income for the rest of the game. So I'm going to very quickly go through the cards that I have here, and I think I'm going to tuck this one under. So I'm going to do this flowing across the board like that, so hopefully you'll be able to see this here. So I've popped one down that will give me an extra energy, so I immediately get that to start the game with. And then at the end of every round in future, when I gain income, I will also gain that extra energy. I have decided to give myself the first play marker, so that I can play a turn out before I have to start dealing with the AI. So I'm going to go ahead and get this game started. And I'm trying to remember everything that I need to do here. So I've got a bunch of different things that I can do on my cards. And it's always good to get a probe launched, because that's one of the major things that you need to do. So I think I'll just do that at first. I'm going to spend 2 credits and I'm going to launch a probe. So that is now in orbit around Earth. So yeah, I've chosen to do the launch probe action. So now I can't do any more of these main actions for this particular turn. I do have access to every single free action available, but because I'm not sure exactly how it works, I'm just going to check how you can move probes. Okay, so it's just if you have the icon to move it, which is, if I can, I'm pretty sure I've got one here. So it's this icon will allow you to move. your probe around. And obviously I've got cards that give me that ability, and I've got so if I was to spend, I can chuck these two away and discard them and get 2 movement immediately for discarding those cards. But there's like cards that you can play that will give you movement bonuses and things as well. There's a whole host of things. I'm not going to do anything else right now, I don't think, because I'm a little... It's the very beginning of the game, so I'm going to keep it nice and easy. I'm not going to do any free actions right now, and I'm just going to go ahead and end my turn there, not passing, because that would end the round, and I'm going to go ahead and let it be the rival's turn. I keep calling it the AI, but it is the rival. So I'm going to go ahead and flip that top card. So the first one is to do with discovering aliens. Now, neither of the aliens we have here have been discovered. They will only get discovered once the data for them has been found. So there's one of each type that you need to look for. So, sorry, traces, not data. So yeah, there's the pink, the yellow and the blue traces of alien life. You need to find one of each for each particular alien species. There are 5 in the game. You just randomly choose 2 at the start. So that's what these little boards are up here at the top. But neither of the aliens has been discovered, so it won't do that currently. So we'll move on to the next one here, which is moving a probe. I'm just going to make sure I'm definitely getting this right. Yes, that would be moving its probe from Earth to a planet. Now, it doesn't have any probes at the moment, so that's another thing that it can't do. So the last thing it will do is, I believe this is taking a tech action. So let's have a look. So it can't research a tech. As far as, oh, maybe I think it just actually gains a tech because of this, because of that symbol. I'll just check. Yeah, take a tech of any type and gain its rewards. So the last one is the one that it definitely can do. So we're going to go ahead and just follow the flow of this here. So the first thing is the symbol for moving the solar system. So we'll do that first. So we slide this marker across the yellow here, which means this center bit moves. And it always goes in a anti-clockwise direction. And it just moves 1 sector. So now my probe is now surrounded by asteroids, which is going to make things a little more difficult for me to get around. So that's really helpful of that there. The next thing it does is gain any technology, and it has a little track here that it will move around throughout the game. And it's currently in this blue section, so it's going to take a blue technology. And when you're looking for which one it will will literally take them from left to right. And it will prioritize the ones that have the 2-point marker at the top. So because none of them have been taken, it's just going to go ahead and take this first one here. So it now gains that technology. And because it gains 2 points as well, so that'll move that further down the board. And because it has the symbol on the back for gaining an energy, the rival doesn't gain resources in the same way that I do. So instead, it gets to move around this track. So I'm going to go ahead and just move it 1 notch around the track there. And then the last thing is to move it once again around the track. So we'll move it to there. Once it's gone all the way around, I will add extra cards into this deck, so ones that give it More advanced abilities, but it'll give it a lot more that it can do, as opposed to what it can currently do, which is, I think, like, these are the 4 basic starting cards that it gets. And obviously we'll get more and more and more as we continue round the board. But that just ends its turn there. It doesn't do anything else. It just takes that one action and then ends its turn. So then it immediately comes back to me. Now, I had a plan of what I was going to do with the probe, which was move it out into space. But where you have the asteroids, it actually costs 1 extra movement to go through the asteroids. So if I was to move, I think it's when you move into it. Check that as well. Something that everyone's probably going to realise as I play more and more games is that I really like to check to make sure that I'm definitely getting the rules right as I go along. So it's when you leave the space with an asteroid in it, that's when you spend the extra movement. I'm just looking here to see what I can actually do. So I'm going to go ahead and spend 1 credit to play this card. So that's going to be my main action for this turn, is playing this card. And it's the Gravitational Slingshot card, which gives me 2 movement for my probe. It also lets me, every time I visit a planet this turn, I can gain an extra movement instead of gaining publicity. But currently, all I'm going to do is I'm going to move out into this asteroid field here, and then I only have 1 movement left currently, but I'm going to use the free action corner of this card to get an extra movement. So that's now discarded. I'll make a little discard pile over here for any cards, which now gives me 2 movement, which allows me to move out of the asteroid. It's not an asteroid belt, it's just a cluster of asteroids, I think, and onto where Saturn is. Because my probe has reached a planet, I gain a publicity immediately, which is quite handy because I need to get to 6 to be able to get technologies, which are going to really boost my progress through the game. That card is now used, so I'll get discarded over there. Can't play any more cards unless I want to use them for their extra bonuses, which I think I might actually use this one to get an extra publicity. So on my next turn, I actually have the opportunity to do something with that. So I've only got 1 card left now. And is there anything else that I want to do for free actions? I don't think there is right now. So I'm going to go ahead and end my turn and pass it over to the rival. So take their card and flip the top one. And so this is a new thing that I've not seen for the rival before. Let's have a look and see how this one works. I think this is analysing data. So the rival can only do this when its computer is full. It currently isn't, so we have to pass that and move down the card onto the next, which is to launch a probe. So let's go ahead and start with that. So I'll take 1 of their probes out of here and pop it on Earth, so that you have now successfully done that, and they gain a publicity for doing so. And it's as simple as that. That's their turn done. They've successfully managed to launch their probe. They've gained a publicity for doing so. I'm just wondering if I'm supposed to gain a publicity when I launch a probe, which would have meant that I didn't need to spend that card. No. Unfortunately, I don't. They get publicity for it. I don't, apparently. Never mind. Okay, but it is now my turn. And obviously, I've played this game before, and I know things that I struggled with last time. So I'm going to go ahead and spend my 6 publicity. And I'm going to go ahead and research a technology. The first thing I need to do, though, is this moves. So that moves across there. So now we're going to move the second line here, just 1. So it doesn't move my space at all in the solar system, because I've only moved this little central section. But it does mean that the first 2 up to where like Mars is here has now shuffled around the solar system a little. And I've moved their probe, the rival's probe, around space. And then I get to gain a technology. And I'm going to go ahead. Ooh, what do I want to do? I'm going to gain this one. So I get 2 points immediately. I'll remove that token. I gain a publicity because I've picked that one up. And then this is going to slot into this section of my board here. And this means that when I'm moving my probes through space, when I go into an asteroid field, I get a publicity. And it also now only costs me 1 movement to leave. So I can move my probes a little bit more easily around space now. So it makes my life just that little bit easier. So that is my main action done there. I've spent publicity to research a technology. And I don't think I currently have anything else that I want to do. I have main actions that I want to go ahead and try and complete, but I can't do them currently. So I'd like to just go ahead and orbit right now, but that isn't something that I'm allowed to just go ahead and do, because that's a main action. I have to wait for my next turn, and then I'm allowed to go ahead and do that. Okay, so that will mean that that is the end of my turn, and I'm going to hand over to the rivals. Let's flip the top card of their deck. So they have the first one saying if the first alien species is discovered, which it isn't, so we pass on that and move down to the next one, which is to spend 6 publicity to research technology. They currently only have 5, so we're going to move on again to this last spot here, which I believe is scanning. So I'm just going to do a quick check and see how scanning works for the rival here. Let's see. Okay, so it says here that I have to mark the rival's signals as shown by the action. So it will do it from Earth, and I believe, does it, because it's grey, it will do any. Ooh. So you also have the markers on these cards as well that you can use when you're looking for a signal. So it will go ahead and do basically whatever it will get it the best result. Oh, I'm going to have to do a quick check. Okay. So I don't know. I think it gets to do 3 signals with this because it has 3 markers next to the symbol there. It doesn't have a pink technology, which if it had that, it would get to discard that to do an extra one. So it's going to... Yeah, sorry about this. I'm just trying to make sure that I understand what it's actually saying. So I think it's actually just going to do the one from Earth. So it's just going to go ahead and look for this. So what you go ahead and do is you take the data point there, remove that, and then you pop one of your own markers in there to signify how far along you are in winning that particular sector. I think it does this based on whether or not it can win. So you do it from Earth first. If it can win by looking at that, or it can get closer to winning because of that, it will go ahead and do so. Otherwise, it will move on to one of the cards from the card row, spend that to try and get extra instead. That one's potentially one I'm going to have to look into because it's not very well explained in the rules exactly how that works. Yeah, I might have to check some of the other cards just to see if they have different things on them at all, just to see how that will go ahead and work as we go along. Oh, okay, so some of them have like markers as like 2 from Earth and that kind of thing, so I think they must actually also get ones from these cards. So it can do 2 of them, and it has yellow and red to choose from. These are signified by these little markers just above it here. So, for example, Sirius A is blue. Barnard Star is red, so it could go ahead and research that. It is probably going to do these 2 yellows because it'll go after getting points is the next thing that I read. And it's just going to go ahead and do 2 researches on Kepler 2. So I need to get 2 of these, pop them in there. So the first one does nothing, but the second one gets it 2 points. So I'll move along there. That will be the end of its turn. It can't do anything else. I need to redraw cards here, pop them out. And then it will be my turn. Do a quick check of everything here just to make sure I'm definitely getting that correct. Okay. Now I have a little conundrum because I want to play this card at some point because it will really help me. But I also want to get my probe on the go. So I think I'm at Saturn, so I think I'm just going to go ahead and spend 3 energy to do this. And I'm going to land my probe on Saturn. If I don't have anything in orbit. If I did, it would be a lot easier for me to do this. But I'm just going to go ahead and drop straight onto Saturn, which immediately gives me 2 data jellies. That's what I'm going to call them for the rest of this game. I get 8 points, so I jump from 3 all the way up to 11. And I get to do a research. I get to find a trace of alien life. So because I'm on the planet here, it's a yellow one, so I get to go ahead and just choose and mark off whatever it is that I want to look for. And I'm trying to decide, because obviously I have to do one of the yellow ones, so it can be either the left or the right. I think I'm just going to go ahead and mark need to get hold of that. I'm going to mark this one because it gets me slightly more. I'm going to pop that there. So that gets me 5 points, so I'm now up to 16, and a publicity. Something which I really, really need, because I want more technology, so I need as much publicity as I can get hold of. But I have now successfully landed my probe on a planet there. In future, any other players, when you're playing this with however many you want, can also land on the planet. Nobody can land on a moon yet. Well, I can't. I think the rival can land on a moon if it discards one of the orange technologies. Obviously, you can see the moons just to the sides of the planets. But if in future anybody else was to land a probe on Saturn, not sure how you landed on a gas giant, but you know, they don't get the 2 data, but they still get the points and the finding the alien life sign. I don't think I have anything else that I want to do as a free action at the moment. You know, I may as well place some data in my computer, so I'm going to put one there and then one there, which gets me another publicity actually, so that's definitely worth doing. My one card I have isn't super useful to me right now, so I'm going to go ahead, end my turn there, and pass over to the rival. Flip that top card. So I need to see how it places data into its computer. Okay. Let's see, I'm not sure if it just goes immediately, whenever it gets any data, if it just immediately goes into the computer, or if it only does it once it can't. This is a little bit confusing as to how that works. Let's see. Sorry, I'm just making sure I'm reading through any of this here that I can make sure that I understand. So it only shows that they place them in after. So my guess here is going to be that it adds them into the computer. It adds it in when it does this. So I'm going to go ahead and pop them into the computer now. If I've got this wrong, please do tell me, because I hate getting rules wrong and then either winning or losing based on that. It has gone past the publicity, so it does gain one of those. I'll go ahead and just have a quick last check before I carry on, because I don't, like I said, I don't like getting things like this wrong. Because it gets a little frustrating. I really don't like getting anything wrong at all. Yeah, so it says it can only take this action when the computer's full. It doesn't actually say at all when the rival will. Right, okay, so they're supposed to go immediately in. That's fine. In that case, I would skip that and move down to the next one, which means it is going to spend its publicity, because it would have had that from previous, and go ahead and gain a technology. So the first thing is to move this round. So it's now gone past the blue marker here, which means all 3 are now going to spin, just the once clockwise like that. So clockwise, anti-clockwise. And then it gains a technology. It's still in the blue section. So it's going to go ahead and take the next one along. So it's going to get 2 points, and then because of that tile, it gains an extra 3, so it's going to move up 5 points. And I'll pop that on there. So if it ever gets the chance to analyse its data in future, it has things that it can spend now to gain extra points. Okay, so we're now back to me. And I have my one last card that I've got here that I can go ahead and take a main action with, and I'm going to go ahead and do it. It costs me 1 credit to use the card, but it lets me scan and mark a signal in the black sector, which is at beta pictoris. So I get to take one of my markers and go ahead and pop it in there. Because I am looking at this knowing that I'm not going to get any technology anytime soon, I'm just going to pop that marker straight in there. This card also has a mission on it, so if I was to win the race to fill up Beta Pictorius or have the most tokens there and win that sector, I get bonuses for that. So I'm going to keep this card available down here so that it's an option. I say it's an option. It's a mission that I can try and complete at the end of the game. Okay, that's my main action done. The only thing I have left is this one token here. I've got 1 energy and I can't do anything with it. I can spend it for movement, but I have nothing to move right now. But I can't pass because I've obviously already done my main action there by using that card. So I'm just going to go ahead and sit on that, end my turn, and then it goes over to the rival. So the rival has now gone through all 4 of its cards. It has none left in its action deck, which means that the rival now takes the main action of passing. Let's have a look. So they get extra things when they pass, apparently, which is really, really good for me to know. Let's see what they get when they pass. Okay. So I think what they get is to move along the progress track. Once again, something that's not very well noted, but it's fine. So the first thing to do is that gets removed, which means the solar system spins. So it's just this middle section here turns like that. Just Mercury, Venus and Earth slowly rotating there. And then they go ahead and just take that top card. Obviously the rival doesn't gain cards to use in the same way as I do, so that lets them move 1 space around the progress track because they've gained that card there. That will be it for their turn. So go ahead and shuffle all of these back together and reform the deck. So the rival, unless it's gone all the way around this progress track, it's just going to be the same 4 cards that get pulled out the very next turn. I can't do anything else on my turn now. I've got no cards left. I've got 1 energy. There's nothing else that I can do. So I'm going to go ahead and pass. I don't have 4 cards, so I don't need to do anything there. I am not the first, so I don't rotate the solar system, but I do get to look at these cards and choose one that I'm going to keep. Okay, let's see. I am going to go ahead and I'm going to choose this card. And I'm just going to discard that one to one side. This marker is now going to go on top of this deck, so whoever passes first again will take that, and then the solar system will rotate. It is now the end of the round. Everybody gets income. The rival doesn't get income because it works slightly differently. I do get income, so I'm going to get 3 money. I get 3 energy. So the money is just depicted on the card here. I've got 2 energy, but I've also got this tucked card that I had previously, so that's an extra 1 for me. And then I get a random card off the top of the deck as well. Okay. Let's see what I can do. Oh, and then first player passes to the left. So currently first player is now going to be the rival. So they get to take the first action of this round. The game is only played over 5 rounds, so as much as it's complicated and it can take a long time, it's also got an inbuilt timer for it, so it's never going to take too long to play. So let's go ahead and flip that first card. So once again saying if the first alien species is discovered, doesn't matter, none of them have been discovered so far. Next is spending publicity. It has none, so it can't do that action. And the last one is back to that scanning again. So it first off scans from Earth, so it takes that one, placed immediately, and then moves 4 spaces around the track. Around its progress track here. And I need to make sure I pop a marker in there as well. And it can then do 2 from cards. So this one is any. So it's going to go ahead and do, let's go stick with Sirius A here, because that also gets it 2 points. I'll discard that. And then it has these 2 which are both red. It currently doesn't have any markers in any red zone, so I'm just going to go ahead and take it from Barnard's Star there. Oh, actually, I think it's supposed to be, there's a marker at the top that says left and right, so I'm going to go ahead and use that to determine it's the one around the board to the left from from Earth, which would be Proxima Centauri. So I'm going to pop that on there. That is its turn complete. It's now my turn. And I have a little bit of a choice to go ahead and make here. But I think I'm going to do this. All of my money I'm now going to spend on playing this card, which lets me launch 2 probes. Go ahead and grab those out. And gains me a publicity. So I now have 2 probes sat at Earth, ready to go out into space. So I've gone ahead and taken my action. My main action there. And I would very much like to start getting these probes moving. So I'm going to take 2 energy and I'm going to turn them into movement. I'm going to move this probe just across here to Venus, which gets me a publicity. And I'm now hovering there around Venus. I am left a little bit stuck here because I don't have a lot of resources after I've spent a lot getting that card out, but I think it's worth it because it allows me to. It's normally it would cost me 4 credits to launch launch 2 probes. This has allowed me to do it for 3 instead, and also gain that extra publicity. We'll see if it works out, but yeah. I'm now thinking maybe that wasn't the wisest plan. Don't think I have anything else that I particularly want to do right now for any free actions. So I'm going to go ahead and end my turn and pass it over to the rival. So the rival's first action is if the second alien species is discovered. That hasn't happened so far, so we move on. Its next one is to move its probe. I believe, based on this, it just tries to move as much as it can to the nearest one, if it can get to it. I'll do a quick check on that, because obviously we haven't encountered the rival moving its probes yet. Okay, so you'll move it from Earth to a planet. You check them in order from left to right until you find one it can reach in that number of moves. It needs to pay 1 extra to move asteroids, as I did have to do at one point, but I no longer have to. If it can't reach any of the planets listed, it passes and moves on to the next one. Next action. So, let's start with it. So, the first one is Jupiter, which would have to be 1, 2, 3. So it cannot reach Jupiter with this action. 1, 2, 3. It can't get to Mars because it would have to spend 2 to leave there, and it would be stuck in the asteroid field. Saturn, it would have to go 1, 2. Yeah, can't reach Saturn either. And the last one is Venus, which it can reach, so it's going to go ahead and go there. Gains 1 publicity for managing that, and that's the end of its turn. Passes immediately back to me. And now I am stuck with a little bit of an issue, because what I need is credits, and I can't get hold of any, which is really infuriating right now, because that's all I really need. And I can't see any way of me gathering up any credits at all before the end of this round. I think what I might have to do is spend my 2 energy here to move my probe. So that only gives me 2 movement because I've spent those 2 energy. I'm going to go ahead and move this one out to Jupiter, which gets me another publicity. So I can now research technology. So that's what I'm looking ahead to go and do this time, because I've been left a little stuck with my lack of credits. I probably shouldn't have spent them all on that card. I probably should have held that in reserve for a little bit longer. But I just felt like going ahead and doing it, so we'll see what happens. I don't have anything else that I want to do for the remainder of my turn. I did forget to turn that over. I should have discarded that, actually, now that I think about it. I'll very quickly do that. And I'm going to end my turn and hand it over to the rival. So the first thing the rival's going to do is empty its supercomputer. So it's going to take all of these, pop that back there, off. which means it does. So this is the first time we've done this one as well, so I'm just going to do a quick check. So it gains the benefit on the card, which doesn't have anything currently. It gains a blue sign of alien life. It's going to take this one because it takes the one on the left based on the yellow arrow at the top of the card. Because it's done that, it gets 5 points, so it moves up to 18, and a publicity. Then it can also, I think you can only do this once. Yeah. So it has 2 computer techs here. It's going to discard one of them to take this extra action. So the first thing is it moves 1 space around the progress track. And the second thing is it gains 3 points. It's going to go 1, 2, 3. Now, because we're in a 2-player game, finding the aliens becomes a much harder to do, and it takes a lot longer. So the good folks at Czech Games Edition have had this mechanic added. When you go past the mark here at 20 points and the mark here at 30 points, you take one of the markers that are there and place it on the leftmost spot of all 6 of the alien life forces to discover that alien. I think because that's happened, that means that the alien on the left is immediately discovered. Yeah, I think as long as it's done, it is discovered. So I'm going to go ahead and flip this over. So, pop that in there. I think me and Jess might have discovered this one last time we played. And I now need to go ahead and find where I put the sheets for the alien species. Okay. I don't have a lot of space here, so I'm probably only going to bring these out as and when I need them. I'll keep them off to one side. But these aliens we've discovered are the Exertians. I'll give a quick the flavour text for them here, which is: found via the beacons they left behind, the Exertians use advanced mining technology to extract energy from the very core of planets. The sustained use of this technology ultimately led to their demise. Harnessing these technologies must be approached with caution. Their overuse could result in severe backlash from the public. So there's a bunch of different things happen now because they've been discovered. There's extra markers go on the board for when we pass certain scores, and there are now different options for when we're playing the game. So the first thing I need to do is put one marker 20 places in front of the rival. So they're on 21, so that'll be at 41. Turn it around that way. Oh, it is the other way. There we go. And then the next one goes 40 points past it, so that will be at 61 there. So they allow you to get different things. They also have their own special deck of cards. Every alien species does. So they all influence the game in slightly different ways. It doesn't change the way you play necessarily, but it just adds a different component to the game. Okay, so each of us gets 3 cards. I have to deal these out. And then because we both did a discovery on it, we each gain an extra card as well. And then their deck also sits on the board. I'm just going to pop it up at the top there. Because the rival can't gain cards. It would have gained 4 there, which I'm going to discard up here. But instead it moves along this track and 4, which now means so many different things happening now. They are going to get one of their advanced cards added to the deck. It immediately goes to the top, so it will be the next card that is pulled out of the deck is their new advanced card. I now have access to, oh, dropped one on the floor, all of their cards that I've just drawn, and they give you extra bonuses at the end of the game. I'm just going to pop them there for now. They aren't considered to be in your hand, those cards. They're just extra cards that you have access to use. You can, when you cross these thresholds, you can go ahead and play one of the exertion cards that you have, and you put it face down. You can do the second one, but you have to pay a credit to do that one. The rival won't interact with that at all because they don't gain cards, so therefore they can't play them. The biggest thing I have to remember, actually, these don't get discarded, I've just read. They keep them and score all the points on the bottom of them at the end of the game. Whoever has the most danger on their cards, I'm going to turn theirs face down so I can't see at all anything to do with theirs. Yeah, so on these cards there are these black crosses in the middle with a number next to them. They are danger that you are generating from using the exertions technology. At the end of the game, the player that has the most loses points. I'm going to leave mine face up there so I know which ones I haven't used. And you lose 1/10 of your total points at the end of the game. So this could be a massive, massive swing at the end game, but only for cards that you've played. You can also get extra danger because we now have access to this board up here, which is extra stuff that you can gain from now. When you get alien, you find a trace of alien life, you can put your markers on here instead, and you can do that anywhere. You gain extra things, but it adds extra danger. So you've got to be careful by using it. So you don't want to end up losing. Like if you get 200 points, you'll lose 20 points at the end of the game, and that could be a big enough swing to lose. So I'm going to be very careful in what I do here, and we'll see what happens as we go along. Each of these cards has objectives to complete. If you complete them at the end of the game, you get you get more points. The ones that are harder to complete are worth more points, but they also have more danger. So it's tough, but they can work out to be quite useful at the end of the game. But we'll see what happens with that. Their turn is now done. So it's now going to hand back over to me. And I've got this one card in my hand, and I can't really do anything with it. I am extremely stuck at the moment. The only thing I can do, which is what I'm going to go ahead and do, is research technology. So it cost me 6 publicity, and now I have to think very, very carefully about what it is that I want to do. I think I'm going to go ahead and take this one. So I immediately get 2 points. Put that to one side. And then this is a scanning technology, which is going to slot in here. And what it means is that I can, when I choose to scan, instead of just scanning in the sector where Earth is, I can scan in any of the two adjacent sectors as well. Sorry, instead of that first one. So it just gives me a slightly broader scope to scan through. But scanning's going to have to wait till next turn because I've got nothing left. I did also, for that, I gained a publicity, so I got one of them back, and I got 2 data cubes. I'm going to go ahead and pop them into my computer there. And I think I'm going to go ahead and do this actually. I'm going to pop both of them down. The second one is just a blank space, so it doesn't give me anything. The first one has that, like the economy symbol of that graph, which means I get to, if I want to, tuck a card. And I am going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to tuck this one under here. So I'm going to get an extra energy every turn now. I'm going to end my turn and hand it back to the rival. They're going to flip this card over. I'm not sure if that should be there because that alien is not currently out. Let's see. I think potentially that they only get added in if that alien is discovered. Yeah, I'm supposed to set them aside. So, yeah, I made a little bit of an error there. It's not too bad at the moment. So I'm going to take this one out. I need to go ahead and go through and find the other ones as well. Just pull all of those cards out and give these a quick shuffle and choose a different advanced technology card to add into the deck. It's actually going to be that one. I'm going to flip that top card now. Okay. So they've drawn their new one and they are moving their probe. They can move 4 spaces to try and end up at the planets listed in. We'll try and get to them, the first one. So the first one is Neptune, and it can actually get there. So it's going to go ahead and move from Venus and go 1, 2, 3, 4 all the way to Neptune there, and gain itself publicity for doing so. I don't know if they ever go ahead and land. Let's see. Okay, so I think they can only land on the moons. They can't actually land on the planets from the looks of it. It can't land on a moon currently because it doesn't have any orange technologies to spend on that. So it isn't going to do that currently. That's the end of its turn there. Then moves back to me. Now, I don't have anything that I can do currently because I can't take any main actions because I don't have any cards. I have no money and I've got no credits and I've got 1 publicity. So I'm going to have to pass and end the round for me. So I don't have any cards, so I don't need to discard down at all. I do, because I'm the first person, have to rotate the solar system. So I go ahead and just moving the orange section. So I'll move the middle and the outside, the inside sections of the board. I then get to go through these 3 cards and choose one to keep. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take that one, I think. Do I want that one? I'm just going to So you have different missions throughout the game. So there's gold ones and silver ones. Silver ones you can complete throughout the game, and they'll get you immediate bonuses. The gold ones, as far as I know, are end game scoring. So you play them, you get the effect. You keep it in front of you still, but then you'll score different points at the end of the game for that. But no, I am going to go ahead and take... No, I'm going to take that one. I've changed my mind. I've talked myself around. I'm going to take that one instead. And that's it. The turn then passes back to the rival. So I'm going to flip their top card. They can't fill their computer. Sorry, they don't have their computer filled, so they can't analyse. They don't have 6 publicity, so they can't go ahead and do that. They will scan. So first off, they scan from Earth there. So they're going to take that one. Which means I have to somehow get hold of one of these markers. Pop it in there, which gets them 2 points straight away. Then they have the options of 2 cards here. So they have blue, red and yellow to choose from. They can't win any of them currently because they can't complete anything. So the second thing they look for is gaining points. So they're going to take this one here for the blue, which gets them 2 points. I'm going to check what happens with this gold marker in a second for the rival, because I'm not sure how that specifically works for them. And they're also going to use this one for the red here and gain another 2 points. So this is something that me and Jess didn't do a lot of last time we played, was the scanning. And my plan was to do a lot more of it this time, and I've just plain forgotten to do it because I didn't have the stuff I needed, because I've been spending all my credits on launching probes. So, now that's all moved on there, they have no pink technologies to spend to do anything extra, so they're going to end that turn. And I'm just going to quickly check exactly what happens when they cross that marker. So normally what would happen for me is that I would place a marker on one of the gold tiles. Okay. So, the rival will claim the first spot on the rightmost tile. So it's going to go ahead and claim that spot. I don't think they gain any extra points for them at the end of the game. I'll have to check how their scoring works for that. But what it does mean is that it blocks me from being able to take that spot. So it's not super handy, them blocking that. It's not necessarily one that I was going to go for, but it does matter in that it's something that's now I'm blocked from being able to take. It would pass back to me after their turn. I've already passed. It goes back to them. They then pass. And because they have no cards left, they will end their turn. They would gain one of these cards. That instead I'm going to discard over there, but it does mean they move around their track. I think that's pretty much it for that. I don't think they do anything else. Yeah, they just draw the top card and move on. I'm going to discard that other card as well, because that's no longer in play, if I can pick it up. I have to remember I have a tool for picking up cards. I might actually go and grab that quickly. So I don't like causing issues with the card edges, because because I cut my nails quite short, I can never pick them up, so it becomes quite difficult. But we were very kindly sent some of these from the lovely people at Pickup, which are quite a good tool for just popping on the table and picking up your cards, and they release quite nicely as well. They're not. Jess struggles with them a little bit because they're not the most. I'm trying to think the word now. It's not as easy to find the way to use them. Once you do know, like, it's really nice and easy just to plop it down, pick your card up, take it off, and it releases it quite smoothly as well. But I'm going to keep this to one side so I can use that to pick up any cards that I'm struggling with as the game goes on. I'm going to pop that on top of there so we remember that the first person to pass this time round spins the solar system again. And then that is the end of round 2. So we're going to go ahead and gain income. So I get 3 credits because I'm still on the very basic credit income. Pop that there. And this time I'm going to get 4 energy because I've added an extra one there now. And I get 1 random card. Just stack these up there. Okay, there we go. Not the most handy of cards, but we'll see what happens with this. The first play marker comes back to me. So let's see what I can do here. The first thing I'm going to do straight away this time is scan. So scanning costs me 1 credit and 2 energy. Pop those away there. And then I can scan from Earth, but I can scan to either side as well. I am going to go ahead and scan this section because I have a card that if I win it gets me extra things. So I want to go ahead and complete that. So the first thing I'm going to do is take that one. And I keep reaching over for their tokens every time I do this because they've had more than me throughout the whole of this. And I can then also scan 1 extra space from a card. So I can use any of the ones down here or from my hand. I'm going to keep the ones in my hand though. Let's see what's going to benefit me the most right now. I need to start challenging them a little bit. So let's take one of these yellow ones. Actually, you know what? I'm going to take this red. And I'm going to scan at... Where do I want to scan? I've got Barnard Star or Proxima Centauri to choose from. I'm going to go ahead and challenge them and take that one at Proxima Centauri and put one of my markers in there. Let's start trying to make moves there as much as I can do. So that is my main action done. And so I can't play any cards. I don't want to use them for their free action corners right now. I've got no missions I can complete and I don't want to move any of my probes currently. I want to leave them where they are right now. So I'm going to end my turn and hand over to the rival. Give their cards a quick shuffle. Throwing cards out now. There we go. And flip the top card. Oh, sorry, I just realised I should have moved all of their data into their computer as soon as it was there. They have gained publicity from that. I only ever remember when I see the card pop up here, which I suppose isn't the worst thing. It's just trying to remember to do it every time you get one. You just add it into their computer straight away. So the first thing is to use all their data to look for a blue sign of alien life. They haven't filled their computer yet, they can't do that. Next thing is to spend 6 publicity to research technology. They also can't do that because they only have 4. So the last thing they're going to do, this card keeps popping up for them and getting it, is scanning. So they're going to start by scanning here. Add that straight in, and I'm going to do their thing straight away for the computer. They move 4 spaces around their board. It's shuffling around there quite nicely now, annoyingly. And then I'll go ahead and pop one of their markers in there. So this is one that I really need to sort out, and I need to win very quickly if I can. And then they get to look at 2 cards as well. So they're going to do a red and a yellow, probably, I think. Or are they going to do 2 yellows? Because they can't win, so the first thing they go for is points. So they're going to do this. I'm going to take those 2, pop them straight in the computer, chuck them out, and then take 2 of their markers and pop them in there. And that gets them 2 points. And they have no pink technologies to spend to do anything extra, so that's their turn done. It comes back to me. Now, I hadn't planned on doing this because I wanted to save my energy for other things, but I think I might have to go ahead and scan again. So I'm going to spend my last 2 energy and another credit to scan. And first things first is I'm going to scan here, which lets me pop a marker in there. I'm going to come back to that in a second. That has now been completed, so we'll determine who wins. And then I also get to scan elsewhere as well. Now, where do I want to go? I want to scan at Proxima Centauri. So I'm going to drop that card there, take one of my markers and pop it in here. Okay. That one just does not want to sit. So that's my scanning completed, because currently I can only do 2 because I don't have the extra technologies to do more. But Beta Pictoris has been completed. So how that works, let me see. So I think this is the first time, even though me and Jess have played this once, that we've ever completed one of these sections of the board, because it was a part of the game that we just completely ignored last time we played, which wasn't the brightest thing for us to do, I guess. Okay, so I can complete these in any order I choose. Let's have a look. It isn't a tie. Like, I have the most markers in there, so I win. So I go ahead, take my marker, throwing it across the board, and pop it in here. So first thing is I get 3 points. We'll come back to this once I've finished my turn. And I also get to mark a research... I've discovered a trace of alien life. This time it's a pink one. So I'm going to go ahead and pop it on this one. Rather than playing on that board, I want to try and get this alien opened up as well to see what this is, to see if it's better for me to use. So that is going to get me another 3 points and a publicity. And then the last thing to note of this is I get a marker to signify that I have won that sector, or won a one of those sectors there. And I have put all of my markers somewhere and I can't find them, which isn't very bright of me. sure they'll turn up at some point. What I'm going to do for now is take one of the orange markers that we've been using for the alien life, and I'm going to pop it. Oh, sorry about that. I'm going to pop it just above there, so it just signifies that I know that I've won that. Well, that's fair. I'm there. I know that I've won it. I'll take that marker back off. I do think there are supposed to be some little markers somewhere to say whether you have or haven't won a particular section, but obviously I either don't have them or they don't actually exist. But yeah, so the other thing that happens is that every person who was involved also gets a publicity. So myself and the rival both moved ahead with trying to look at that sector of the board. So we both get a publicity for doing that. And then I think that then gets refilled with the little data jellies. Right, so there is a second place player, and for this, whoever's in second, one remains there of theirs, and the rest gets filled with the little data cubes. Pop all those in there like that. So it just means that they have an advantage for next time trying to discover trace of alien life in that sector. But obviously it could, like, I could just go and put another 4 in there and then I win. I have now completed this quest that I have here, and completing this quest gives me 2 points, move there, and 1 publicity. I'm going to move that up. I don't think I need to do anything else with this. I'm just going to move it off to one side just so that I know that that's one that I've completed now. So a couple of things need to happen before I carry on doing anything else. The first is to place this alien discovery marker. It's just going to slide straight on there because it's the leftmost one that's available. The next is that I've passed this gold marker here, which means I get to have a look over at the end game scoring and see what I want to score points for. Looking at what I've got, I'm going to go ahead and pop it on this one, because I already have sliding the whole board around here because of this one little thing. So I already have an orange and a pink technology. All I need to do is at some point get a blue one, and that is 1 set of 3, and it's worth 11 points to me at the end of the game. It's definitely worth me looking at for that. Okay, the last thing I want to do with my turn is pop this data cube there. Now, I can't do anything currently because I don't have any of the stuff that I need, but it does mean that I have filled my computer. So if I can find the right stuff that I need from somewhere, it means that I have extra things that I can do. I'm going to end my turn there and hand over to the rival. So flip their card. They are going to go ahead and move their probe. They can move it 4 spaces, and the only annoying thing about moving the probe for them is that I have to check every single possibility first before I can determine whether or not it's going to move. Neptune is the first one, it's already there, so it is going to move away from that. Uranus is the second one, which is 1, 2, 3 steps away, so it's going to go ahead and go there. It gains a publicity for doing that, but it can't do anything else currently, so that's going to end its turn there and move back to me. I have a bit of a problem at the moment with this because I have lots of things that I want to do and I don't really have the stuff to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and spend 1 credit to play this card, which is the NEAR Shoemaker, which I think is a probe. It cost me 1 credit to play the card. It immediately gives me 2 publicity. And at the end of the game, if I have a probe on asteroids, I gain just 13 extra points straight up at the end of the game. So I just need to make sure that when it's looking like we're getting towards the end of round 5, that I try and land one of my probes on an asteroid mark, because it's worth a lot of extra points at the end of the game for me. I'm not going to do any free actions currently. I am going to go ahead and end my turn there and pass back over to the rival. I'm going to flip that card. So they have, it's the first time we've had this, so if the first alien species is discovered, I replace this card with the corresponding alien card and resolve it. So this is the first time this has actually happened, so I'm just going to make sure exactly what happens with this. So this card is now removed, and pop it over there. I replace it with the alien card and resolve it. So it's just going to go ahead and stack onto there because it's one of the, oh, what were they called? The exertion cards. They don't do anything else. So that card just gets added to that stack for them, really. They're not getting added into their deck to draw from. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and just leave that there, and then it comes back to me again. I'm going to go ahead and spend my 6 publicity to research a technology. I'm just trying to figure out the best thing for me to do. Oh, actually, no, I'm not. Yeah, no, I am going to go ahead and do that. I have to do that. I'm going to get this one. So I gain 2 points immediately for it. I could launch a probe, but I have a limit of only having 2 probes. I believe. Just check, because I'm pretty sure that's how it works, that you can only have 2 probes. Oh, you have a limit of 1 probe in space. I was allowed these 2 because I played a card to send them both out in space at the same time, but I can't put any more in space at the moment. It does also get me 1 energy, and then I'm going to go ahead and slot it in here, and it now means that I am allowed 2 probes in space. If I only had 1, it would allow me to launch another one. Obviously I can't currently do that, it's just, I'm just going to sit there. I have another main action that I'd like to do, but obviously you can only do 1 on a turn, so I'm going to go ahead and, is that something that I want to do? No. I'm going to hold that card for now and go ahead and end my turn and hand it over to the rival. So they're going to flip their card. The first action is to do with their computer, so their computer is full, So they're going to go ahead and take all of their data off it. I'm going to put them back into the supply here, which means they get to discover a blue trace of alien life. So it's going to get popped on this one here. So they get 3 points. These tokens no longer matter because all the aliens have been discovered, which is what I'm about to do here. So I'm going to flip this over. So this time we have the... I have absolutely no idea how this is supposed to be pronounced. I'm going to go with Oumuamua because it's just fun to say. And I need to go ahead and get all the stuff for the Oumuamua out of my little bag here. So the first thing is we add this little piece onto the board. So there is now an Oumuamua asteroid floating around space. I apologise for any bag rustling that you may or may not hear. I just need to get some of these markers out. We might not need them, but I'd rather have as many as I can out on the table, and then if we do need them I can just go ahead and grab them. And if I need more I can always get more. I think, funnily enough, these are the two that me and Jess played with the first time we played. The only other time that I played this game, and the same two aliens have come out again, and I did thoroughly shuffle those boards around. So for the Oumuamua, let's find their piece. There we go. I'll read their little bit of flavour text, which is: this 400 metre long asteroid is the first extrasolar object observed in our solar system. On its surface we've made an amazing discovery, the fossilised remains of extraterrestrial life. Further study of these exofossils could forever alter our understanding of life in the universe. So the Oumuamua asteroid here is now another thing that we can go ahead and research. So I'm going to go pop a few of these data cubes in there, like so. There we go. And these tokens that we have over here are the exofossils. So they're things that we can gather throughout the game, and then you can use them to get extra things as we go along. So I have to find their deck of cards now, which I handily left to one side. Give them a quick shuffle. So every player that put a marker down to discover the Oumuamua gets a card. So I get a card, as does the rival here. I'm going to pop their cards up there. Obviously they don't get access to their card. I'm assuming there'll be a solo rule here, but the card does mean that they get to move one space around their progress track. I'll do that first before I get on to doing anything else, because I will forget. And yeah, so you can go ahead and mark signals at the Oumuamua asteroid like you would if you were scanning. You just choose to mark it on the Oumuamua asteroid rather than the section of the board that you're facing. It does count as a planet, so you get all the normal stuff that you get for going to a planet, and you can place a lander or orbiter on Oumuamua, which is up at the top bit of this board here, which gets you extra bonuses. So you can play to any of these sections of the board. These bottom ones here and these sections up at the top do require you to spend exofossils that you can gain to use those spaces. So you have to go ahead and collect up the exofossils to then be able to use them. we'll see if that gets used through the game. The Umumu are more interactive than the exertions. They're more, you can only really use whatever you get from them when you pass their spaces on the board. But yes, they have now successfully been discovered, and they will also spend that to move one space there and also move 3 spaces on the points track as well. That is the end of the rival's turn. For my turn, I'm going to go ahead and spend that one lucky little bit of energy that I managed to get to empty out my computer here of all that data that I've collected, and I get to discover a blue trace of alien life. Now, I can go on any of the spaces underneath the boards here, which will just get me 3 points, or because both alien species have now been discovered, I can go ahead and actually place my token on their specific boards to get me extra things. So you can only play, obviously currently I have a blue trace of alien life, so I can only play into the blue sections of their boards. They both give me slightly different things. I'm just going to go ahead and check what is actually going to be the most beneficial thing for me to do currently. I'm going to go ahead and go on this one, I think. So that's going to get me 3 points. Once again, I've gone past this marker here, but these just don't count anymore. They're only for discovering alien life. I do get to draw one of the Oumuamua cards. That just gets added to my deck. I don't believe their cards count as one of my... at the end of the round, if you have more than 4 cards, you have to discard. I don't think you do with the Oumuamua cards. Oh no, these cards do count towards your hand limit, so they are different from the exertion cards. So I've done that now. Let's think. I'm going to go ahead and discard one of their cards. I'm going to flip them face up just so it's a bit easier. The one I've discarded gets me a point and allows me to move a probe 1 space. I'm going to choose to move this one, and I'm going to go ahead and move it straight into there, because I know that moving into an asteroid gives me a publicity. I assume it's for the dangerous manoeuvring of my probe through the asteroids. That's why the public like it so much, they love seeing that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm then going to pop a couple of these into my computer and gain another publicity for that second one that I've popped in. I'm going to save the other one, the other data cube that I've got for now. And then I think... oh, sorry, I did forget something. When I placed my marker on the Oumuamua, I was supposed to gain 1 of those fossils. So I'm going to go ahead and gain that now. I don't have any other things that I think I particularly want to do at the moment. So I'm going to end my turn and hand it back to the rival. So they are going to flip their card, and this time they have the opposite one. So if the second alien species is discovered, I replace this card with this corresponding alien card and resolve it. So that one is now out of the game, and I'm taking the top card of their deck and popping it on here. Now this one does form part of their deck. As far as I'm aware. It becomes a little bit confusing because I don't think they gain resources. It might work slightly differently. I'll say, okay, so for the purposes of the Oumuamua, they can collect the exofossil tokens. let's have a look. So whenever their marker pops up for that, they are going to go ahead and mark a point on Oumuamua until they have enough exofossils, if they were to get them, to discover something on the board here. It's a little confusing, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works. Oh, no, okay, so they don't actually do that. That's a different mark that will pop up during the game. So they just, for now, they collect one exofossil token. Yeah, they won't do anything else currently unless they have enough exofossils. Yeah, that's just what they're going to do for now. So that'll be the end of their turn. It passes back to me. I very much want to keep both of the cards that I have, but yeah, no, I am going to keep them for next round. I think I'm gonna hold onto that for now. So I'm going to go ahead and pass. I only have 2 cards, so I don't need to discard. I remove that token, which means the solar system spins. So I'm going to take this and move all of that around. And then I get to go through these cards and choose one of them to keep. Let's have a look. I'm going to go ahead and keep that one, because I think that's probably going to be the most useful to me. Yeah, I'm gonna keep that one. And I'm gonna pop that onto there so I know that is ready for the next round. The rival will go ahead and end their turn there. I think this card might stay out because it's a mission for them, but I'm not quite sure how that card works for them. So I'm going to shuffle it back into the deck, assuming that I've done this in the correct way. So they are also passing. They'll just, the top card of that deck is now gone, and I'll get rid of the other one as well. They would gain a card, so that means they'd move around the progress track 1 space. Now that that's completed, we all gain income. Obviously, once again, rival doesn't get anything. I do. I'm going to get 3 credits. I get 4 energy. And last but not least, I get to draw a random card. So let's add that into the mix here. Oh, everything is just too good. I want all of these things. I want to be able to play every single one of them. Right. I'm going to be a little bit stuck this round, I think. First play marker moves, so it's now the rival's turn to go first. And that will be the end of round 3. Let's start round 4. I do appreciate that this has been going on for quite a long time, but I am going to get this game finished and see how the scoring works and how we end up. So their first thing they're going to do is move their probe. They're literally just passing between Neptune and Uranus at the moment, so they're just going to go 1, 2, 3 straight back there. They gain a publicity for doing that, and that's going to be the end of their turn. And it comes back to me. Now, this is the one that I want to play first. So I'm gonna play a card. I'm gonna play this card here, the Probe Customization. Oh, actually, how am I gonna do that? No, I'm gonna start by paying 2 credits to play this one, which is the Jupiter Exploration Program. So I get to immediately, in the section with Jupiter, which is the section here, where my probe's covering Jupiter currently, but it's there, I get to scan twice in that sector, which is perfect for me because I want that. So I go ahead and fill those 2 spaces there. And before I do anything else, free actions or otherwise, I'm going to complete what's going on here. So I win the sector. Take all of these back. Which means I get to place a pink trace of alien life marker. And I'm going to go ahead and pop it on this one here, which gets me 3 points. Sat on the same now. I get to draw a card from the Oumuamua deck. Pop that there, because I don't need to look at it for now. And I also gain an exofossil token, which I'm very happy to do. And then myself and the rival both gain a publicity. And the rival takes that 1 marker back, and then the rest at Proximus Centauri gets filled back up. So obviously we can go ahead and continue scanning that sector of the board. The rival just has a slight advantage over me. This also has a mission on it. So if I orbit or land at Jupiter, including its moons, I get 4 points. So that's probably going to be something that I'm going to try and do. I don't have any free actions that I think I want to do right now. I'm not going to use that one currently. I know I'm definitely going to use that particular card next. Oh, I really need I really need that one. No, I'm going up. No, well, I'll see. Currently, I'm not going to go ahead and do anything. I'm gonna save. I'm going to save up. So I'm going to end my turn and hand back over. So we flip that. They get an exofossil token. They can't do anything with it currently because they don't have 4. I would really appreciate anybody telling me if I'm getting it wrong with this, because I just don't know how it's working with that. I think I'm doing it correctly because I don't think they try and do the missions. So I think me just keeping it in the deck cycling is the right thing to do. I'm going to keep doing that because if I start changing it now, then that's just completely changing the way the game works. That is going to be the end of their turn. So I now need to go ahead and do a bunch of different things. So I'm going to start by swapping 2 energy out for 1 credit. I can just do that as a free action. And I'm going to play a card with those 2 credits, which is this one. It has a mission on it, so it's going to stay out here. I'll move these exofossils here actually, so I can keep these tucked up. It gives me 3 publicity straight away. And then if I have a pink, a yellow and a blue for a single species, trace of alien life for a single species, I get to just immediately complete that mission. And I can do that at any point, even if I've already done it now, to do find another trace of alien life for that specific species. So that's going to be the end of my turn there, I think, because I don't think I have anything else that I want to do. I know I have a card that I want to play, but that's all going to rely on future things that I'm going to go ahead and do. So I'm going to end my turn and hand it back to the rival. So, first thing is for them to empty their computer of data and look for a trace of alien life. They have no data currently, so they're not going to do that action. The next thing that they can, the next option on their card is to spend 6 publicity to research a technology. That they do have the ability to do, so they're going to go ahead and do that. So they're going to spend 6, so they go from 9 to 3. This shuffles round, so this section of the board moves. It's not particularly what I wanted, but I can make this work, hopefully. And then they research a technology. So they are currently on the orange section of their progress track, which means they're going to take the first orange energy with a 2-point marker on it. So they go ahead and take that one. So first things first, they gain 2 points. I'm finding it harder to reach across to that side of the board now. That gets tucked on there, and they also gain a publicity for doing that. And that's the end of their turn. Now, I'm going to take one of my turns that Jess likes to think of as a slightly ridiculous one, but we'll see how well this goes. I'm going to spend 6 publicity. So the first thing I have to do is this, and that shuffles the orange section of the board round. That has made my life significantly worse, I think, but we'll see. And then I get to choose a technology. Now, annoyingly, the one I want doesn't have a 2-point marker on it, but I am going to go ahead and take it. So I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to slot it onto my board here. Oh, actually, I wonder if it has to go on the first space. It doesn't matter too much, but oh, it can go in any slot. That's absolutely fine. I'll pop it. I'll pop it in that slot. I think that makes sense for me. I'm then going to go ahead. So that's my main action to research technology. I'm going to pop these cards in like so. These data points in. So I'm going to get 2 points. Caught back up again, and I get a credit. And then I'm going to place this last one, which lets me tuck a card. Now, I'm going to go ahead and tuck this card, which is one of the Oumuamua ones. I'm going to pop it under there. Actually, no, I'm not going to tuck that one. I'm going to tuck this card because I want the extra money right now. So I immediately gain that money, which I think is something that I haven't been doing so far through the game, but I am going to start now that I've remembered. And that is going to be the end of my turn there. I'm not going to do anything else right now. I don't want to do any more free actions because I have a card specifically that I want to play that's going to let me do a lot of different things. So I'm going to flip their card because it's passed back to the rival now. Again, it is to analyse their data, and the second one is to launch a probe I don't know if they can have more than one probe. Well, it just says to launch a probe. I'm guessing they can have as many as they want, because it won't happen that often, I suppose. So they launch a probe at Earth, and then they gain a publicity. And that will be the end of their turn. Now we come to my turn, and I'm going to now play my probe customization card, which costs me 1 credit to do, and it lets me spend my fossil tokens any number of times to gain 2 movement for each one that I spend. So I'm just going to go ahead and play both of them immediately, and then do something a little bit crazy. So I'm going to do 1 movement to go into this asteroid field to get a publicity, 2 movement to go back into the previous asteroid field for another one, 3 movement here, and then 4 movement to go to Oumuamua, which gets me another publicity. It's gaming the system a little bit, I appreciate, but I think it works. If anybody thinks I've done anything wrong there, definitely let me know. But I think that it's within the rules, maybe not within the spirit, but I've done it now, and I'm playing solo, so who cares? Once I've done that, I then get to land a probe on a planet. I'm going to go ahead and choose to land my probe here at Jupiter on the planet. It gets me 2 data jellies immediately. Free action wise, I'm just going to put them straight in there, I think. It also gets me 7 points, so I go from 37 up to 44. And I get to discover a yellow trace of alien life. I'm going to go ahead and pop it on this one here. So it's going to get me another 3 points. Another card. Pop that over here so I remember that I've actually played that one. And I get one of these little fossil tokens back. Exo fossil token. That is that card dealt with. It's an Umu one, so I'm going to pop it over there. A bunch of other things have happened. I'm going to start with the first thing that I crossed, which is I went past this little red marker here for the exertions, which means I get to play an exertion card if I would like to. Which I think I do, and I'm going to go ahead and play this one. You're supposed to keep it face down, but that usually only really applies when you're playing with other people. So I'm going to pop it face up here. So I played the one, it gives me 9 danger, but at the end of the game, if I have 6 traces of alien life for the other species over here, I currently have 4, so I'm not too far off that already. I get an extra 20 points at the end of the game. So I think it's definitely worth me picking that up to do. Second thing is, for this card here, I have landed on Jupiter, which means I just get 4 points straight away. And I've also completed this one, which is I have a pink, a yellow and a blue trace of alien life for a single species, and it just lets me place another trace of alien life that I've found on that species. So I'm going to go ahead and this time pop it on this one here. So it's another 3 points and a card. I don't know why I'm checking that, I'm just going to pop it down there and we'll carry on. So that has also been completed. This turn is just really cracking along. I've also passed this marker here, which means I need to choose one of these to succeed with. I'm going to go ahead and choose this one. I'm going to put that on that 8-point marker there. That is going to be the end of my turn now, unless I have any other things that I want to do, which I don't think I do currently. No, I'm going to wait on that because I don't want to use any of these cards that I've got right now. I'm going to go ahead, end my turn, which passes over to the rival. The rival has no cards left in their deck, so I'm going to go ahead and give them a shuffle, and they will then just remove this, and they're going to take the top card of the deck, dump it immediately over here, and that means they move one space around their track. Okay, that is that dealt with. So I basically just get to keep taking main actions along with free actions until my round is over. The first thing I'm going to go and do is clear all the data off my supercomputer here and spend 1 energy to look for a trace of alien life. Now, because I know I've got this card here, I'm definitely putting it on this one, so I'm going to go ahead and pop it. I'm going to do this one. So it gets me 2 points, and I get another exofossil. Which might come in handy later in the game. But it's good to know now that I know that I've completed this one. So I'm banking an extra 20 points at the end of the game. Then, I don't think I have anything I really want to do with any of these cards. I could put a probe into orbit. It's quite difficult actually figuring out what I want to do here. I think I want to dump this card because it gets me 2 publicity, which is I'm gonna need as we carry on. I want to keep these 2 for now, just in case I get the ability to do something else as I carry on. I'm gonna, if I spend these 2, I can go and orbit Oumuamua, which I think I'm gonna go ahead and do because I think it's worth it for me. So this probe moves away from Oumuamua there to this section. I draw a card immediately. I'm throwing cards all around now. I gain 10 points, so I go from 56 to 66. I get another exofossil, and I get to mark a signal at Oumuamua, which gets me another point. I have also gone past this marker here now, and you can only do this the first time you go past it. If I wanted to, I can spend a coin to play another of the exertion cards. Now, I don't think that that's something that I want to go ahead and do, because I'd have to like really I'd have to start chucking cards away to then get it, and I think it's not something I want to do, so I'm just going to pass on that. I'm not going to do that. I have nothing left really that I can do at the moment. Apart from, I'm going to use the free action corner on these cards, which gets me another 2 points, but also gives me 2 data cubes. I'll pop those over there. Which means that what I'm going to do is place these into my supercomputer like so. I think I have to place it in that one before I can place it in the bottom one. Let me just check that, because I would prefer the coin to the extra 2 points right now, but I don't know if that's something that I'm allowed to do. Yeah, you have to fill the space above first, so I have to have placed it here before I can get that one for the coin. Well, I'm going to go ahead and do that. The first thing I get is a publicity, and the next thing I get is just 2 points. I've gone past this gold marker here, which means I get to choose another one of these tiles at the top for end game scoring. So I'm going to go ahead and choose this one this time, because I know I've already completed a few of these quests, so that could come in really handy for me. And I am now going to end my turn and pass. I only have 1 card, so I don't need to discard it all. I did rotate the solar system, so that's fine. I get to go through these and pick one of the cards now. Let's go ahead and choose that one, I think. We'll get rid of this one. Okay, so we are now into the last round of the game. I've probably got tons of rules wrong as I've been going along, but I've really been enjoying this so far. But let's see what happens in this last round, and then I'll figure out exactly how scoring works with the rival. So everyone gains their income first. So because I've took that extra card now, I'm going to get 4 coins. I also get 4 energy. And I get to draw... Oh, throwing an energy on the floor there. Go ahead and grab that. Yeah, and the last thing I get is to draw 1 card. So I'll just add that into my deck here. The player marker comes back to me, so I'm back to being first player for this last round. And then we'll go ahead and play out this last round of the game. Ooh, this is going to be very, very tough for me, I think, because I have so much that I want to try and accomplish, but I just need to make sure I do very specific things, and then everything will come alright. So, first thing I want to do is research technology. So I'm going to do that. That moves around, and then we spin the board. Oh, I just realised that got knocked there. Pop that back on. Which technology do I want? Now I'm not going to be doing a lot of scanning, or at least I don't think I am. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take this one. So it's going to slot into my board there. What that one does is it allows me to land for only 2 energy instead of 3. And I can orbit for just 1 energy instead of it also costing me a credit to do that. So I think that's probably going to be very, very useful to me. Just trying to see how many of these I've got here. Okay. So that is my main action done now. I don't really want to do anything else without another main action, I don't think. So I'm going to go ahead and end my turn and hand it over to the rival. They flip that over and get another one of these tokens. I'm assuming when they get to place data, if they can, that they'll come into play, but they haven't been able to yet. Flip that one. They don't have any data, so they can't analyse. They don't have enough publicity to gain a technology, so they are going to go ahead and scan this time. So the first thing they do is scan Barnard's star there. Pop that in. They will then, what have they got? 2 yellows available to them and a blue. I see none of these are particularly useful for them at the moment. I think their best option is to get as close to winning one as they can. So I'm going to go ahead and take these 2 cards out, which means they're going to research yellow at Kepler 22. So they're going to gain those. They do gain a publicity for doing that. And I just need to pop their markers in there. That one and that one. And that's going to be the end of their turn. I'm just going to go ahead and flip these cards. Oh, that's very annoying that that's a very nice card that I would like, but no, can't have it. I'm going to go ahead and spend 2 credits to launch a probe. Get this probe here. Then I'm going to go ahead and bin that card off for a point, and it also lets me move my probe, so I'm going to move it out to here, which gets me a publicity for landing in an asteroid field. Okay, now what do I want to do? I've done my main action, which is launching a probe. I've done a little bit of, I've done 1 free action. I don't think I want to do anything else currently. I think I'm gonna end my turn there and pass over. So the rival is going to move their probe just from Neptune all the way back around to Uranus. Job done. They gain a publicity. That's all they can really do. They can discard this to land that probe on a moon now, though. So they can land on Titiana, which gives them 25 points. It's like landing on moons, some of, like, for Uranus and Neptune, so worth doing because the points are massive. So they are getting 25, so they go from 37 to 62 points. I was feeling quite confident before that I was doing quite well, and they've really closed that gap on me now. We are back to my turn. I'm going to spend a credit to play this card, which lets me, if I have a probe on asteroids, I get to mark a yellow trace of alien life. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'm going to mark this one. So that gets me 2 points and an exofossil. Pop that on there. Now, I have a lot that I'd really, really like to do here, and I am unfortunately looking at it as though I might not be able to. Let's see what I can do. Okay, I definitely can't do that. Yeah, so I've done my main action of playing that card. That one doesn't matter anymore, so I'm just going to get that discarded off to one side. It's done everything I needed it to. That turn is over with. I think what I really need is to try and land on a planet. I think that's going to be my ideal move here, but I've only got this one card and it doesn't really let me do a whole lot. So I'm going to spend 2. What can I get there? 1, 2, 3. It's going to cost me 4. It's going to cost me all the energy that I've got, and I don't actually know if it's because I need to land costs me energy. Costs me less now, but I need. Okay, I'm going to spend 2 energy to gain 2 movement, and I'm going to move there to there. So that's going to get me 1 publicity for the asteroid field and then another publicity for getting to Jupiter. Can't do anything else right now, so I'm going to go ahead and end my turn and pass it back to the rival. Their last card is going to let them... Oh, they already have a probe at Earth, so they're not going to do that. They are going to research technology. So they go back down to 1. This moves, so that shuffles round like that, which is somewhat annoying because I think that potentially could have helped me, but never mind. They get to research technology. They are currently on orange. They're going to choose this one to do because it gives them 2 points straight away. It's just the first one available for them in orange that has 2 points available. So that's going to be the rival's last turn. They're not going to do anything else, and I just have to try and do as much as I can here. I'm going to use my 2 energy because that's because I have this orange technology here. It only costs me 2 to land a probe now instead of it normally costing 3. And I'm going to land another probe on Jupiter. So it gets me 7 points. But crucially what it gives me is a yellow trace of alien life. And I have 4 exofossils here, which I'm going to use to put on this one. And that gives me 25 points. So I go from 81 to 106. I'm going to take out my little 100-point marker here, pop my little token on that as I slide it around. Well, actually no, I'm gonna pop that on my board. That makes more sense. That I know I've reached 100 at least. I'm stacking these up. I shouldn't be doing that. I have 1 coin left. What do I want to do here? I'm going to use this card to gain a publicity. And then I'm going to spend... So because the rival's turn's over now, as soon as I finish a main action, I could just go ahead and do another one. Because I'm just taking turns until I'm out of things to do now. I'm going to spend 3 and gain myself a card. So I'm going to draw... What do I want here? I only gain 1, and I can choose any of the cards that are down here, or I can choose one from the top of the deck. I think I'm going to take one from the top of the deck, because that gives me the most opportunity, because none of these are really giving me anything that I really want right now. Okay, so I think it's going to be worth me doing this. I'm going to go ahead and play this card, which is the atmospheric entry. It cost me 1 credit, the last credit that I've got. I remove 1 of my orbiters from any planet. I'm going to choose Oumuamua because that's the only one I've got that's orbiting. Pop it back in there. I gain 3 points. I gain 1 data cube over here. And I gain a card. And that card is now done. So that would be my main action. to have played that card. I end my turn, it goes to the rival, they can't do anything, it comes back to me again. I'm going to pop this there, which lets me tuck a card, which I'm going to tuck this one, which gets me a credit. I don't think I can do anything with that credit. But I also can't move a probe at all, and I can't really do anything else, so I may as well gain the 1 coin for it. I don't have anything else that I can do now, so I think that is going to be the end of the game. Oof, that was a hell of a time playing that. I think I've been playing for about 2.5 hours going through that game. It says it's supposed to take about 40 minutes per player. I don't think that's correct at all. But I now need to see how all of this works. So, at the end of the game, I score victory points at the same as I do in a normal multiplayer game. The rival doesn't score the gold scoring tiles, but they score 5 points for all uncompleted objectives. So, I think I'm going to win this quite comfortably based on that. Because I have 1 uncompleted objective here, would have gave me 13 points, but instead they're going to get 5 and go to there. I don't think, based on what I've just read there, that the rival is going to score any further points. You can, with the rival, if you play them at higher difficulties, have them having objectives. So if you complete them, then also it's for the rivals uncompleted objectives, so it wouldn't actually get 5 points for that. So I already know that I've won the game, but I will count all the points just to show you exactly how all the point scoring works. So I score as normal. I am going to have to refer to the manual here because I'm not 100% certain exactly how the scoring works. So you have your end of game cards that you played. So the only one that I have here is if I have a probe on asteroids, I get 13 points. I did try to do that at the end, but I chose instead to land on Jupiter to just give me that extra, which is doing that was worth 25 points to me. So I think I'm slightly better off from doing that. Then we score for the gold scoring tiles. So the first one is 4 points, and that is for every mission that you've completed. And I have 1, 2, 3 over here missions that I completed throughout the game, so that's an extra 12 points. So I'll put myself to there. The next one along is for sets of completed scanning and landers or orbiters. So I have 2 completed scans that I managed to do. So the most I can do for this is 2 of them, and I do have 3 landers. So I have 2 sets there. Each one is worth 8 points, so I'm going to get 16 points for that. So I go from 21 to 37. Sorry, from 121 to 137. And then the last one that I've put my marker on here is for sets of technologies. So for every one of each that I have, I'll get 11 points. I have 3 oranges, 1 pink and 1 blue. So that will give me 1 set, which is worth 11 points. So I'll move that up to here. And the last thing to look at is any alien species that give end of game scoring. So the exertions do provide end of game scoring. We now look at their cards. My one here gives me, if I have 6 traces of alien life placed on the other species, I've put so many down. I'll move over here. I get an extra 20 points at the end of the game. So that will move me to here. So they're going to have to somehow gather up about 100 points to catch me up here. Oh, I think it's 99 points they need. And I have 9 danger. We now need to flip their cards to see how many points they're going to get from the exertions. I'm going to do this one at a time, because all of theirs count as completed. So the first one just gives 10 points, so they'll go there. The second one is 15 points, so they go from 79 up to 94. Next one is worth 12 points, so they'll go to 106. We'll take their marker out. They have managed to breach that 100 point gap. The next one is worth another 12 points. And lastly, the last one's only worth 8 points for them, so they'll go to there. They then also quite clearly have the most danger. I have 9, they have 10, 18, so they're like double what I have. So they are going to lose 10% of their points. They're on 126, so they'd lose 12. You round down, so they'll go back to there. So, no, back to there. Can't count. So that is the end of the game. I've ended on 168 points. The rival has ended up on 116 points. And I've successfully managed to, this week, beat the solo mode for a game. It's much better than losing really badly at Patchwork last week. Yeah, that is a game of SETI. I've probably made it look a lot more difficult than it actually is, but just fair warning, if this is a game that you're thinking of picking up, there is a lot going on, and it's not a short game to set up either. I think it took me about 15 minutes just getting everything set up on the table. I do think part of that issue is that everything's just in bags in the box. So I think I'm probably going to get an insert for this at some point, so that should make things a little bit easier for setup. And like I said, it's only the second time I've ever played it, so I think that is definitely not helping in the realms of whether or not I'm quick at playing it. I think a few more plays and it will definitely become a lot easier to get to the table. But overall, I really like this game. I'm so glad I picked it up, because it's got a really fun system, and you can interact with all of the systems as much or as little as you want and still get a good experience out of the game. And it really taxes your brain to try and utilise every single little bit that you have at your disposal. Like that last round that I had then, it was trying to maximise everything that I had. I was trying my best to launch another probe so that I could try and complete this objective that I had. But yeah, overall, this is probably going to be one that I try and play a little bit more, but it's not going to get to the table constantly because it's such a long slog of a game. Like, you look at how long this has been. It's been probably 2.5 hours that I've been playing. And I like it as an experience playing a solo game, but it's a long, long game to play. I think it probably strikes me as it would be a little bit quicker playing with 2 people, because you're taking much less in the way of turns, and every single person you add is adding an extra bunch of turns into the game. So I think their estimate of 40 minutes a person, so you're talking, what, an hour and 20? Wouldn't be far off if both of you knew how to play the game, but if you're learning it, just be prepared for it to take a while, especially the first few times you play. But I'm going to wrap things up there. Thank you very much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this, because I really like SETI, and it's probably going to be one that I come back to. Yep, like I said, wrap things up, and I will see you all next time.